speak. That whole argument I just won only went on in my head, didn't it?
Well, nothing happened.
Have you ever felt bad for not being able to be direct with people? Felt guilty for not being able to express your dissatisfaction? For not saying what you really thought because of a certain block, a certain fear of people and how they would react upon hearing those words coming out of your mouth? Then you start thinking about what the right words would be to say that something is bothering you and how the person will react when you say it. But then you end up feeling anxious, tense, overthinking, and well, you come to the conclusion that it's not bothering you that much after all, even though it actually is. You decide it's better to stay quiet when, in reality, you should have said something. It's completely normal to speak up, but you only realize this a few days later, thinking about that extremely strange situation that has already passed. Today, we're going to analyze an episode of the amazing world of Gumball that talks precisely about people who struggle to be direct with others and the enormous weight and potential harm that words can carry when used without any empathy. The episode begins with Darwin looking extremely uncomfortable sitting next to Susie on the bus. Even though she was annoying him a lot with her loud noises and constant gestures, he simply couldn't bring himself to be direct and ask her to calm down. It was something he found too complicated and difficult to do, no matter how embarrassing and frustrating the situation was for him. But then, when he tells his brother that he can talk to her, Gumball, in a calm and composed tone, politely asks Susie to calm down, and she just does. Darwin is stunned by this supposed ability to be direct with others and asks Gumball to teach him. Later, during lunch, a bully cuts in front of Darwin in line. Even though he feels wrong, he still isn't able to say anything at all. This frustration makes Darwin start arguing with himself in his own mind, coming up with all the things he could have said to win that argument if it had actually happened. This scene perfectly illustrates how people who struggle to express themselves feel, gagged within their own minds, unable to bring their thoughts out into the open, and this happens due to one main factor: insecurity. The feeling of helplessness and vulnerability caused by the environment, by the fear of asserting oneself, or by the imposition of others. Darwin starts beating himself up because, in his words, he was a fool. And it's very common for people who struggle with this issue to blame themselves, feeling deeply uncomfortable with their own lack of action. Gumball then tries to help him be more direct by taking him to talk to someone he finds annoying. They go up to Leslie, who is on the phone, speaking in an overly exaggerated way and constantly mispronouncing words. But when the moment comes for Darwin to say what he really thinks about her, he chokes on frustration. All the thoughts he had always wanted to express about her but had kept inside overwhelmed him. However, with Gumball's encouragement, he finally says everything he had been repressing for so long. But Leslie doesn't get mad at all. In fact, hearing those things actually helps her. She realizes her flaws and starts acting in a better way than before. This moment shows us how sincerity can be beneficial, not only for the person expressing themselves but also for those who struggle to see their own flaws on their own. Later, the two of them are using the school computers when Gumball notices that one of their classmates has posted a new photo. When he sends it to Darwin, Darwin comments that the classmate's repeated pose in every picture really annoys him. But at this point, we've already moved from situations that were genuinely bothersome to mere opinions about something that doesn't really affect his life at all. When Tobias walks by, Darwin bluntly tells him that he looks ridiculous with that pose. And that's when things start to take a different turn. And then he acts like a jerk to Tobias for something totally unnecessary, which makes Tobias visibly uncomfortable, embarrassed, and walk away from Darwin. At that moment, we start to notice how Darwin is transforming from a guy who was insecure into someone who makes others insecure. He then sings a song about no longer being afraid of hurting others and finally being ready to vent and speak his mind about everyone's annoying habits. But after practically bullying, they both end up being sent to the school counselor by the principal. The counselor tries to resolve the issue in a very simple and direct way by placing tape on Darwin's mouth, preventing him from saying things that would hurt others or anything at all. This obviously doesn't solve the problem, as it essentially takes him back to square one, where he kept everything to himself, which wasn't healthy either. In fact, the main and problematic issue in this situation is that Darwin didn't just lose the fear of being direct with others, but he also lost his empathy for them. This made him act without any boundaries, becoming someone who behaved like an idiot. The right way to fix things would be for him to somehow regain his empathy. Of course, the tape doesn't work, and during class, Darwin ends up exploding, saying horrible things to everyone he considered even remotely annoying. annoying. The interesting part is that, at that point, he wasn't just being direct and sincere anymore. He was being malicious, saying things that he knew would hurt others and that were completely unnecessary. They were comments meant to humiliate. At this point, Gumball realizes that Darwin has crossed the line, and when Gumball realizes that, you know it's serious. They end up having a sort of verbal fight, where they're obviously trying to hurt each other with their words. But Gumball lands a fatal blow on Darwin, winning the fight when he says, "Actually, we're not even brothers. You're just a pet that grew legs." Obviously, that cuts Darwin deeply emotionally, and he ends up lying there, crying. You remember when I said things could be fixed if Darwin regained his empathy? Well, through this, he felt firsthand how it feels when people say cruel things to you without thinking. And with that, he regained respect for others. He apologized and made peace with Gumball. So, to summarize, being direct is indeed necessary at times. It can be a good thing, both for yourself and others. It helps you release what you think about things and people, as it's not healthy to keep everything inside all the time. It can also help others improve and notice something they couldn't see without someone's honesty. But it's crucial to have understanding, to be sincere at the right moments, and to do so with respect and empathy. When we don't take care with our words, anyone and even ourselves can get hurt. We don't want to become people who are avoided by everyone after all. No one likes being hurt by someone who doesn't care about their words. So let's be direct, but let's not be idiots.